Well, hello. It is nice to see you. Been quite concerned about where we left Thimble on the way over here. However, I haven't really had much time to think about her this week. I've had quite a exciting week with one thing or another. You may remember me mentioning the other storytelling fairy a few episodes ago, and how she'd gone to one of the Eastern realms to collect cloud cotton. Well, we were all expecting her back sometime last week. She was certainly due before the last moon cycle, and when she didn't show up, we sent out a search party. Well, it would appear that she was rather allergic to cloud cotton and had been sneezing from the Eastern realm to the flatlands for days, bless her. Oh dear, dear, dear. She looked like a dishevelled weed by the time she was found. Goodness. Anyway, we won't be collecting that again. Fairies and cloud cotton don't mix. We're all allergic. I've never heard so many sneezes ever, and sneezing and levitation does not mix. No, it's not funny. Dear, dear, dear. Anyway, we left Thimble on the flatlands. Rather concerned about those big, hairy trolls and our tiny little Thimble. I do hope so much. No, I'm not going on about hope again. Goodness me. Right.
Pinch, punch every day of the month. Be sure to get your feed. Fill your bellies from day to night through ruthlessness and greed. Pinch, punch every day of the month, burn the fires night and day. We'll fill our pots and make them hot, so trolls can eat and play.
Goodness me! Thimble could hear trolls singing through the trees. And every now and then it grew louder as their voices were caught on the easterly breeze. She felt her heart skip a beat and knew that she now had to be more careful than she'd ever been. She referred back to Periwinkle's map, just to double-check his warnings.
Beware of trolls,
Thimble read as she noticed it had been underlined in thick black ink.
They are very suspicious and will not believe you under any circumstances, so try and avoid at all cost.
She looked down at the shield he had given her as a gift, remembering that morning as the sun rose over the pixie realm. It seemed so long ago now, almost like another lifetime. Yes. Thimble took a deep breath before putting the map back safely in her bag. The forest trees were thick and dark, making it easy to hide amongst the foliage. But the sandy flats to the left and right of the forests were barren and vast, with no protection or camouflage to hide in. Thimble decided that she would have to travel as far as she could through the trees and then only use the flats when night fell. As she crept from tree to tree, she noticed stumps where the trolls had chopped them down to be used as firewood. There were old, dry, crispy leaves under her feet, and they rustled as she made her way as far as she dare to the edge of the forest where the sandy stretches began. Way across the dusty plain, she saw another thick forest and guessed that that was where the singing had been coming from. Slowly, as the sun disappeared in the sky and night fell, Thimble could make out the faint glimmer of fires burning amongst the trees. Finally, when she felt it was dark enough for her to travel without being detected, she bravely took her first step on the sandy, dusty ground of the flats. She felt the soft soil beneath her feet as she slowly walked along the edge of the trees for as far as she could. Then there was no other option for her other than to walk towards the lights of the forest on the other side of the vast plains. The moon was nearly full and shone down on the empty space from behind the clouds, making Thimble feel more exposed than she had hoped. But she knew as long as she could make it to the other side before dawn, she would have at least covered the hardest part. But at nightfall, the flat lands become alive with the other creatures who also fear the trolls. And Thimble was just about to find out who. Goodness! The air was much cooler at night, and as she moved away from the trees, it seemed to get so much colder. She untied the coat Sonica had given her and was grateful for its warmth. The fabric hugged her, and she felt more protected, and was just thinking to herself that she had done so well to have made it this far without a hint of troll trouble, when something caught her eye. In the middle of the dusty plains with its sandy earth was a small mound, and about 100 yards away from that was yet another mound, and then another mound, and another. Well, you get the idea. How odd, whispered Thimble, treading carefully so as not to trip over any of the earth. She hadn't seen anything like this in any of her books and was curious to see what they were. As she continued to make her way across, she could see that the mounds actually went on for quite some distance, disappearing behind the thicket of trees she was heading towards, and beyond. She certainly couldn't remember anything like this being documented in any of the old manuscripts that she had read about the Flatlands, and was just about to double-check Periwinkle's notes when something moved beneath her feet. "Goodness!" exclaimed Thimble. She hadn't anticipated earthquakes in the Flatlands, goodness me no, and stumbled to her knees. Do you mind?" said a very, very cross voice next to her. "You are collapsing my tunnels." And through the light of the moon, Thimble could see a head sticking out of one of the mounds. Unbeknown to Thimble, she had stumbled upon the burrows of a very rare and rarely seen sand troll. And unlike the flatland trolls, was not an aggressive or mistrusting being at all. However, Thimble decided that she had best not take any chances, and even though she could see he was in absolutely no position to harm her whatsoever, she pulled her sword from her belt. "Do not come any closer, or I may be forced to use this," said Thimble a little shakily. She had never pulled a sword on anyone before and now felt quite silly. Yes. "Well, how rude," said the sand troll. "I was merely letting you know you were disturbing my beautiful tunnels." And he was just about to pull himself underground again when something made him stop. Beneath the light of the moon, he could see Thimble's sword glistening, and something on it seemed to intrigue him. "Where did a pixie like you get a sword like that?" he inquired, pulling himself out of the hole and walking over to Thimble's quivering hand. "It was given to me," replied Thimble, who was still waiting for some kind of confrontation. The troll stared at her, blinking for a short while. "By whom exactly?" questioned the troll further. This somewhat annoyed Thimble, who did not like being called a pixie. Well, no. And was in certainly no mood for questions. "None of your business, and I am not a pixie, I am a fairy," she said quickly, noticing that the troll wasn't very big at all and seemed a lot less, well, ugly than she'd expected a troll to be. "Oh, rejoice! I do declare a miracle," said the troll jovially, and started dancing around in circles while he clapped his hands above his head. What a noise he made, and soon the trees in the distance began to glow with lit fire torches, and Thimble froze. "Quiet! Quiet! The trolls over there are going to hear us, and I don't think they're going to be very pleased to see us here," whispered a concerned Thimble, but this only seemed to make him laugh louder. "Other trolls? Other trolls? I'm not a troll like those over in them woods, Fairy Princess. And if we've disturbed them, then
We'd best make haste, 'cause I don't want to really greet 'em.
And with that, he disappeared through the mound of earth next to him. Oh dear, poor Thimble. She was exposed on the flats and saw nowhere she could hide. Meanwhile, the lights and voices from the woods in the distance grew louder and brighter. Goodness me, I know. For a moment, she didn't know whether to turn on her heels and run back to the forest or just stand there and hope they didn't see her tiny body this far away and go back to their campfires. Goodness. She pulled Perry's map out again to see if it could give her any reassurance, but she knew it would be of little help and was just about to disappear when the troll poked his head out of the mound again.
Well,
He said,
are you coming or not? Those trolls will be here in approximately 30 blinks. I didn't think you wanted to greet 'em.
and with that he vanished again. Realising that she had very little option, Thimble took a deep breath and, still with the sword firmly in her hand, jumped into the mound of earth, going straight through the middle and landing rather clumsily in a dimly lit tunnel underneath the stretch of the flatlands. Well, those are the calling birds. I do hope there's no more sneezing to go back to. Honestly, these things. Who knew we were allergic to cloud cotton? Anyway, I wonder who on earth Thimble's found now. Hopefully, he's friendly. He seems rather nice to me. Anyway, we'll find out next time. I do hope that she's going to find her way through okay. I mean, I know I say it every time, but hope is such... I'm going to have to go. But I hope you will come back next time and join me. Until then, take care. And remember, don't stop believing. Especially in you.